Getting a little bit of a sense of deja vu here today. It was only a couple of months ago that I got really super hyped when I brought home the brand new, at the time, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Legacy Dragon Dagger. Well, what should I find in Toys R Us today but the Legacy Dragonzord. I'm such a sucker. What can I say? I love me some Tommy Oliver. That Green Ranger, man. You know, he was the best. You know, that cool ass suit, the gold chest plate. Just the show was never the same after the Green Ranger left. You know, even though he came back as the White Ranger, just the dynamic wasn't there, and the interaction between Tommy and Jason was some of the best moments in the show for that first and early part of the second season. But anyway, enough babbling, enough of my man crush on the great Tommy Oliver. Let's take a look at this sucker. If you've seen any of the previous Legacy Power Rangers toys, this box won't be anything of a surprise to you. The same exact design. I think the box is even the same size as the Legacy Megazord, which came out last year. But it's cool, it's attractive, it's very eye-catching. It's got this really attractive photo of the Dragonzord on it, plus some bio information about it, some information about the toy itself. Box side has some text information about the history of the Power Rangers. Other side has some information about the Zords and how they function, how they combine, etc. And the back shows off some of the different combinations that this and other Zords can achieve. So there she is. And it's been a while since I've handled the original Dragonzord toy from the 90s, so I can't speak for how this compares to it in terms of size. But if I had to guess, I'd say it feels like it's about the same size to me. Maybe even a little bit bigger. Maybe not quite as tall, but you know, it feels more massive in the body, but also feels a little bit slimmer, if that makes any sense. Overall, the details on it are fantastic. You know, you've got the side panels, you know, which form the chest plate in fighting mode, which are essentially one half of the dragon coin symbol. You've got dragon coin symbols all over the place. You've got it on the hip. I think there's one on the knee, and it's just a very dynamic sculpt. It's very accurate to how it appeared in the old Sentai show. In terms of articulation, above the neck, that's what you got. You can open and close the mouth a little bit, and you can kind of make out the face of the fighting mode in there. Which, you know, what are you going to do? You know, that's just kind of the way it works. Arm articulation, you've got limited up and down, kind of a waggle here. You've got wrist up and down, and limited ball joint on the hands. But what really surprised me is not only does this thing have the standard straight-fingered hands for, you know, the fingertip missile firing feature, it also has swappable hands. So you can swap them out with these more relaxed palm fingers. So for more conventional poses. However, for combined forms where the hands have to retract, you'll either need to remove them or use these ones, because these just won't fit. Articulation below the waist, you've got ratchet hips, which unfortunately only have this much movement, but that's more an artifact of the design than a failing in the toy. Likewise with the knee, that's not quite as forgivable. They could have put more of a cut in the back of the thigh here to allow, you know, one more notch worth of deep knee bend. So that's kind of a bummer. But what this thing does have that really impressed me is this thing has articulated ankles, which the previous one did not. So you've got your good front to back, a good deep single ratchet again, unfortunately, but a good deep bend. But more than that, it's got an ankle tilt. Imagine that. I never would have thought. It's more because the standard configuration The hips are kind of splayed out, so it allows the feet to remain flat-footed on the ground. But the big selling feature on this one for me, the one that when I first saw pictures and I first heard this thing was coming out, I demanded it have, that is one hell of a tail. The old Dragonzord had only a 3-segment tail that was articulated only at the drill tip. This one has a 5-segment tail with ball joints all over the damn place. Look how expressive that is. This alone makes up for any other deficit in articulation that this thing could possibly have had. I mean, it's all over the place. You can tell I'm excited about this. So as for die cast, as it said on the box, it does have a fair bit of die cast. Not as much as I would have thought, but it has enough. The feet, the lower waist, the silver portion right here, and the sides are all die cast metal. The rest is all plastic. It would have been nice if like the whole lower legs would have been die cast, but that would have increased the price, and would have naturally made it a lot heavier, and actually would have made some of the combined forms a little bit more unwieldy because the lower legs being so heavy. They're already heavy just with the feet. Regardless, it's I really dig it. I really dig this toy a lot. The detail is great. The colors are great. It's very vibrant. It has no electronics, which was kind of a bummer, but I can forgive it. If they had included like a dragon roar or something, that would have been nice, but I'm not going to crucify the toy on account of that. So anyway, let's do a little size comparison with the Legacy Tyrannosaur. As you can see, it's quite a lot larger. On the show, these were portrayed as generally being pretty close in size with each other, but I think it's fair to say that big old Dragonzord here could mop the floor with Tyrannosaurus pretty easily. Well, let's try out the combinations. So first, we're going to try out the Dragonzord in fighting mode. We'll start by popping off the tail. We'll need to split the torso in half to remove the chest plate. And then recombine. Swap the hand back. As I said, we'll need the straight-fingered hands in order to accommodate the transformation. Retract the arms into the chest shield and then close it up. You can now open the face, straighten the legs out. These panels flip up and allow the knees, the lower legs to fold up into the knees. And so there you have the torso. Now we'll just add the other limbs. And there is the combined, whatever you want to call it, Mega Dragonzord, Dragonzord in fighting mode. And it looks pretty awesome. You've got the dragon shield symbol just dominating the chest. The face looks very dynamic. It's a very attractive design. I really like it a lot. You've got the standard same shoulders that the Megazord had. Articulation in the hips is again, it's pretty limited. And you've got no knees to speak of, unless you untransform it, essentially. And no ankles in this mode. It does have a combined weapon form, much like the original toy did. But there's one thing that this one does a lot better than the original one did, and that is an integrated hand grip. The original toy had this little thing that stuck off the side and really couldn't be held by the Dragonzord very well. And this one, it's better, but it's not fantastic, but at least it's an effort. And it can be held in its hand, and it looks pretty good. The much longer tail, of course, makes the drill weapon much more unwieldy than the original one was, but it still looks really damn cool. One curious thing, though, to note about the base that this comes on is those legs are really uneven, so it can't stand on its own. So without it being supported by the Dragonzord, like you can see, these two legs are shorter than the other two, and I don't know why. So it wobbles. So if it's not being held by the Dragonzord, it can't stand up. It'll just tip over because it's so top heavy. So why they didn't design it with a stable base platform is really beyond me. Anyway, we're going to convert back to Dragonzord mode, and then we'll try out the other combined mode. Now, before we combine the two, you can see here the Dragonzord is much more of a match for the combined Megazord in terms of size. It's a little bit shorter at the head, but it's got a good bit of bulk in the torso and good, sturdy, thick legs. So I think a fair fight would be, you know, the Dragonzord versus the combined Megazord. But let's take a look at the final configuration of this little beastie. Start by folding down these shoulder pads, closing the head antennae. Much like the previous configuration, we start by removing the tail and the center chest plate. The hands we retract then into the side shields, and then you fold the knees up into the legs. Largely the same as if you were converting it into fighting mode. And then instead of closing the torso and flipping the head down, you simply split it in half. There's a peg here that locks the torso together that you just simply fold away. And then and then Megazord simply wears it like a cloak. And it's every bit as silly as it looks. As I said previously, the heavy feet have a tendency to weigh the legs down, so the knees on the Dragonzord, they tend to collapse with very little prompting. So you'll find, if you leave it in display like this for too long and you walk past your shelf, you'll find your feet just fall, which is a drag. But not to mention, the Tyrannosaur tail doesn't really have a place to stow. This back panel there's this little folding panel here that is kind of intended to lock things together a little bit, but it doesn't really do the job that it's supposed to. Like, it kind of does, but it's not great, but it still leaves... Oh wait, there you go. Okay, never mind. I just fixed it. I was going to say, it kind of leaves the whole assembly a little bit flimsy, but there I was able to get all of it to lock together just fine. So imagine that. But this is the Mega Dragonzord, I guess. And like I said, this one leg keeps just collapsing and I can't get it to stop. The real drag about this, aside from these feet, is that the arms are so weighed down by this that they have a tendency to kind of... The first time I tried combining it, the right arm actually kept popping off. So I'm actually really glad that it's not doing that. But it hinders your shoulder articulation a little bit. And again, every time you try to move it, it makes your foot fall down. It looks neat. Kind of silly. But, you know, if they ever do a Legacy Titanus, I can't say I'm going to get it. Because this configuration at all, just to have it standing in the Titanos is kind of silly. Not to mention, the whole thing is actually really top heavy. There's no die cast in the legs, in the saber-toothed tiger or the Triceratops. There's a little bit in the thighs of the Tyrannosaur, but there is so much in the upper body that if it weren't for the fact that the Tyrannosaur has really sturdy hips, this thing would just tumble forward, like, with no provocation. So I'm not likely to keep it in this configuration very much. Which, considering it looks silly just in general, I can't say is a huge loss. But the selling point for me was the Dragonzord itself in its standard configuration, and being able to convert it to combine with the saber-toothed tiger, Triceratops, and the Mastodon as the Dragonzord in fighting mode. So that is the Legacy Dragonzord in a nutshell. It's a really good toy. It's not a great toy. It's got some flaws. I can forgive them because I like the design of the Dragonzord so much, and I wanted to have a partner for my Megazord, and my aforementioned never-ending man crush on Tommy Oliver. But this is going to go proudly on my shelf. I'm very, very happy. I neglected to mention it has no stickers. No labels, no decals, decals, whatever you want to call them. Unlike the Legacy Megazord, which came with a ton of stickers, this one has none. This is straight out of the box. No markings to be applied at all. Just basic, assembly, and you're good to go. And I really appreciate that because I hate stickers. And the Megazord just had too damn many. But is it worth $80? I paid $80 Canadian for this at Toys R Us. Is it worth that? I would say, unless you're me or like me and are a huge fan of the Dragonzord and the Green Ranger, I would say wait for a sale. This is a $50 toy with an $80 price tag. And if the previous Legacy releases are any indication, this thing will be selling for $90 US at Toys R Us. Because all of the other Legacy releases have been consistently $10 more expensive in the States than in Canada. I said the same thing about the Dragon Dagger, and I was right. It was $90 US versus $80 Canadian. And that thing is not worth $90, and this thing is not worth $90. If you can find this thing on sale for $50, buy it. But unless you're like me and you're a huge fan of the character and the mecha, don't waste that extra $40. So that's my 2 cents. I'm going to be getting back to my Gundam reviews. I have a couple of Gundam kits I want to talk about, and in a previous vlog I mentioned I wanted to do some reviews. And actually I wanted to talk at great length about my love of My Little Pony, why I'm a brony, why I'm into the show, etc., etc. That'll all have to wait because I'm going to get this all finished. And those videos will be coming probably over the next 2 weeks to a month. We'll see. So that being said, thank you everyone out there for watching, and happy collecting.